Welcome back to the channel. As promised, this is the first match that I'm going to show of this young black belt that I had in the Ohio State tournament. He was really, really good at winning the grip exchanges and really good at shutting down my moves. His reaction times were just so fast. He was always seemed to be ahead of me. Okay, so this guy's really good at gripping, and in the beginning here, the ref's just, doing his job, so he doesn't know we're recording and doesn't care. But so he's got a grip on me. He's right-handed. I'm left-handed because of my knee, right? And I'm fighting in the armpit here, right? And I go to Kataguruma, and he just stuffs it. And then this looks sloppy, but I'll show you what happened. His reaction times were just so good. So here, look, I try to stick my head in the hole, and I never get my foot to slide through like I did when I was training against Peter Yu. That's what it should have looked like. But he sort of like sprawled back, and you can see how his chest is covering my head. So here I try to go out the far side. I try to peek out and use his arm to turn him, and he just pulls his chest out of the way. And I thought, oh my God, I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm going to get pinned here. So I was like, okay, I can recover from this. I just got to roll all the way through and grab his wrist and, get behind him. And I tried to drag and take his back here, but he covered me again. And then he didn't want any part of this. You see how he yanked his arms out? And a smart kid, because I was going to try to, spin behind him. So we start off again, right? No harm, no foul. They didn't have to call Mate because he stood up, right? He's trying to get my far sleeve there to control it. And I'm trying to get sleeve and armpit grip here, like to the Russian here. And then here you can see what I do is I effectively do what I tried to do the first time, which is now duck out, take his back. I get like zero time to work. He has a very tight turtle that they call Mate. And, it didn't look like I was working too hard, but, and I really frankly wasn't because I didn't feel like I could get anything going. So the ref has every right to stop it. Okay, so here again, right, you see that he's getting a good lapel grip. He's trying to get my far sleeve, and he's got it pretty good. He steps in for Uchimata. Maybe that was Harai. Okay, and I just kind of stuffed it. And then I try Kataguruma again because I felt like he was giving it to me, but then he kept stuffing his elbows so good. So I'll show that sequence again. So you'll see here he steps in here, right, for Harai. And I wish I could tell you, like, exactly what I do to stuff a lot of these things, but I know for sure, you see how I don't push, right? But I also don't want to jump back too much because I could give him the Harai. So I wish I could tell you exactly how that works out, but I don't know. They all told me I have really good balance. Now here you can see I have that armpit grip in the sleeve, and unfortunately you're not going to be able to see my entry where I try to create some motion and go to Kataguruma. But you'll see here I drive, right? And instead of ducking out the far side again, I thought I could get him to drive all the way through, right? At least put him to his back and try to pin, but I wasn't able to do it, right? They call Mate because his chest is so good at covering my head. So here we come back again, and I get up slow on purpose, okay? Like, I'm old. Like, this is pretty intense, okay? I've already been in here a minute and 15 seconds, and trust me, I'm kind of tired, even though I'm in good shape. Okay, so this is a good exchange here. So I try to step in, to kick him around for Uchimata to set up the Kataguruma better because I thought I could get it on him. And then here he tries to turn throw again, and I'm able to counter it, okay, and I almost had his arm. If I had had his arm there, then I would have been able to hold the pin. But watch this, right? So I lock up a body lock here, like a gut wrench, and right as soon as I'm getting the turn, he calls Mate, and then that's my kind of annoyed face. But I'm a good sport, so I'm not going to make a big deal about it. You can't do that. If you get the ref on your side, on the bad side of you, not good. All right, so watch, armpit grip, right? I step in to spin him around because I think I can, force him into getting that Kataguruma or Seo Toshi, but right, he's got a good sleeve control here, and he's going to step in for this turn throw, right, following his Ashiwaza. He's got a good sequence, and I stop it, right, I stuff it, and I thought my coach, you'll see him in the background, do the symbol for, right, Yuko or Wazari, because he thought that I scored it, and his arm, I almost had it, right, like just needed to thread my arm through his elbow, and I would have been able to pin it. I lock up the gut, right? This is standard gut wrench, how I lock it up. Watch, you'll see I yank so I can get my far wrist on his rib, like I've shown on my channel. And right when I go to turn, see how his hip comes up? He was going. That was the best chance for me. I'm very good at that turn and pin from there. But again, right, take accountability. It is what it is. So a little annoyed, but it is what it is. So I come back, right, and here's a really, really good sequence that we have. I'm trying to keep him from getting my lapel, and I am. So he changes strategies here. So he goes Kouchi, and then here's the end of it. Watch, Kouchi, Seonagi. And I did not respect it. I could not believe that he hit me with it. Wait till I show you in slow motion. It's very good technique. Really great guy. Had several conversations with him. And I was really impressed with how he finished that. I'll show you how that bicep connection here was great. He put together some really nice sequences here, right? So look, I have control over his wrist, but what he does is he goes to that Ippon Seonagi grip, and he goes Kouchi, and I think he's trying to see what I'll do, right? I step out, and now when we turn around, right, he does it again because I'm trying to control his wrist, and I feel safe there because I felt like, yeah, he doesn't have my lapel, so I'm safe. So watch this, right? He goes Kouchi fake right here and checks me, and then I sprawl, which is literally the worst thing that I can do when he enters the Seonagi. Watch this. I follow him like an idiot. Watch. Steps in, Kouchi. Watch. I step back. Watch this. Now he goes bicep to bicep grip, which I didn't think was going to work. And I sprawl, which is a wrestler's mistake. And then he drives. I thought I was safe right there. And then he drives hard, dips his shoulder, Ippon. And look how he finishes, right? How he rolls, like drives into me. It was excellent. I end up rolling all the way through, but I thought I was safe. Definitely was not safe. And it taught me a lot, right? It taught me not to, I have to circle to the front. And, but that drive, it really shows you a lot about, it's not over until, you know that you're safe and you hear the mate, or, right, then you switch to newaza. But I learned a lot from him, and I'm going to show you the next match right now. So this is our second match, and you might be asking, like, how did you have a second match? Because I had two matches right after the first match, and I won both of them by Ippon. And then he lost to the guy that won it. And so I had a chance to beat him twice, right, to take his second place from him. And so I lost again to him, but it went the entire duration, and it was a much better match on my side. All right, so basic stuff, right? We're going to be grip fighting hard, and he's very good at grip fighting, and he does a nice little ashiwaza there, and I kind of smile and chuckle at him. I'll show you what that looks like again. He checks me here. Watch, Kosoto here. Right here, and then I fall to my thigh here. My whole life, I've been really good at being able to twist my hips in midair, and it helps. Otherwise, I would have gotten scored on a lot. And you'll see he does that to me a number of times in this match. He had really good change-up in ashiwaza. And this may not be the smartest thing, but I was going to try to do the right-handed seonagi, the drop throw that I threw the guy with in the third match. And he saw it coming, and it's kind of dumb. I switched my feet up, like, so that I could try to get over there when I did it, and I probably shouldn't have. He saw it, and then, he was really good at getting his hips back, and you can see he doubles up here in the tricep, and, drops his hips, drops his shoulders. And he has a lot of skill, and it showed. Competition's just so different than practice. I mean, I've only been out there for 30 seconds, and even though my adrenaline isn't really that high because I'm used to this stuff, it still makes a difference in cardio. In a lot of ways, I felt like I was doing a better job of catching his hands, but he knew how to change things up real quick. So watch this, right? He gets a grip and pulls me and then goes right to that Kouchi, and I was able to get my hips out again. But I'll show it in slow motion. So watch, he pulls me like an idiot. Look at that. I step. And then nice Kouchi and drives, and I go to my butt and make sure my back doesn't touch at all so that he can't get a score, and then try to go to turtle. And I kind of given up on trying to out wrestle him from these positions because he was just really good at tying up my hands, really good at keeping his shoulders and his hips back. So I just couldn't dump him. There's some good grip exchanges here. This is one of my most favorite things about wrestling and judo is the grip fighting and the hand fighting. So here I'm like, okay, well, I don't want him to have that hand, right? And then he gets hold of my hand right away and goes to that uchimata, so I try it the other way. And then I felt like every single time I could get him going with the uchimata in a circle that I could, cut it back and kataguruma the other side because, I hit it a lot in practice, but it's my The reason I kept trying it was because I thought it was there, and I didn't want to reinvent myself in a match. Just what I do in practice, and it works for me really, really well lately. So I've worked on it since then and gotten better. But see how I don't want him to have that far hand, and I'm trying to control his sleeve hand. And he's doing a lot with my legs, and that's smart because it makes your opponent bend over at the waist. And I'm smart enough not to go for it 100%, but And so here I was getting a little desperate, and I thought I could go from that rush into a headlock on the far side. It would have been awesome if it worked, and I thought at least I could get him to drop to a hip. But again, really smart guy. I'll show you that again. So I have the rush in, and I thought that if I dropped my hip here that I could get that far leg to buckle. But I didn't get far enough over, and I didn't want to step too far in the middle because I didn't want him, dropping his hips down and back. So it was a calculated risk. I was kind of getting desperate and wanted to, get the headlock. And like most circumstances, I'm like, all right, that was a good effort. I mean, it could be there again. But he was pretty good at not falling for a lot, this is why he's a black belt. So I was like, man, I hope he's getting tired. And he told me afterwards that he was, but he's half my age almost. So I was feeling a lot more comfortable in these positions, and I thought I had this Ouchi because he was going to step, and I'll show you what that looks like again. I caught him leaning a few times, and I thought if I got him stepping, I could do the Ouchi, but he's too skilled for me to not, pull him into it. And I thought maybe if I dropped on it like a wrestler, that it would work, but it didn't. Again, I was learning how skilled he was in the middle of this match. A lot of attacks. I mean, he and I never got a Shido in the 2 matches. I'll show you what I tried to do right there, and then I come behind him and take his back. All right, so I have the grips that I want, right? So I try to check him here so I can get him to pull that leg back. And then instead of, going Kataguruma here, I basically use almost like an over-under throw. Not like a pancake, but if I could get him to drop, his shoulder on that side. But it didn't work. Again, very skilled, didn't go to his side. And here I honestly thought, man, I'm going to do, he was holding onto my wrist well. I'm going to, throw a leg in and try to get a bow and arrow choke. And he was pulling his lapel over his chin really well. He's super smart. I mean, he knows this game. He's tucking his chin. And I probably should have switched to a power half, but I was trying to get high on purpose to see, if he would take the bait and try to go out the back door. And I often can cinch up a lapel choke real tight in those situations, but I couldn't get him to really fall for anything. And the ref, unfortunately, I don't have enough judo experience to know how long the ref was going to give me. And in that time, I was saying he's going to call mate. Maybe I should just relax and get 2 seconds of rest. And I'm learning that doesn't actually work. You don't really get any rest. So we have to go right back. Fight at the same pace again. I'm trying to catch his hands. Trying to go to the Russian here. Trying to get higher up on his back because I thought maybe I could, switch my throw and get a Sumigaishi, and he did a nice check there. I'll show you that. You might want to know, why do I always go to the armpit? And it's because if he's got a good collar on me, it's the best answer, because it stuffs him. And I'm trying to get a high grip here to break his posture. But, he doesn't fall for it. He's an advanced guy, right? So he knows Sumigaishi's coming. And so he steps in first and says, I'm just going to off-balance him so he doesn't have it. And I step in the middle for Sumigaishi, and then he checks me back. But I'm like, I'm not going to go to my back, right? So I'm going to bail out. Got to know when that happens. So I bail out, right, go to my knees. There's no score again. And I know I can't out-wrestle him from these positions because he's proven to me that, he's just going to hold me really well. So that's it for that. Okay, mate, you see the ref, right? We stand back up. Very good ref, usually gave us more time to work on the ground than other people did. And so I'm just trying to think of what to do here, right? He's out-gripping me. It's a very strange feeling to get out-gripped, and then when I do get a good grip, he just attacks off of it. So, it's very skilled. And so I'm trying to move him around, trying to get him to fall into some of my traps, and he's just too smart for it. So he really goes hard here for an Uchimata, and I just decide I'm going to face plant rather than get thrown. And that hurt. And I had the little ringing in my ears, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, Joe, this isn't wrestling. You don't get 1.5 minute injury time, so you're going to have to get up, or else I don't know what happens. I don't know what the rules are, so you're just going to have to keep fighting here. And I thought, all right, I'm fine, right? Minute left, I know what time, how much time there is. And I really am just trying to get something going. He goes Uchimata, then he goes Sasai, and he scores here. Okay, they gave him a Yuko, right, which is a quarter point. And I'm not really sure. And I thought, oh no, if he scored, I got to try to put him on his back. And he's just stuffing it, right? And I'm pretty tired at this point. And there's 38 seconds left. My coach tells me, he's like, hey, dude, 38 seconds, Joe, you got to score. And I'm like, I understand. And I know. That's why I looked at him right there. Said, yes, sir. And I'm going to try. But, he does not stall. To his credit, you'll see, he does not stall. He tries to throw me big time here. And I'm really trying to get a throw. He's controlling my hands. I'm trying to control his, right? Trying to maintain my posture. And here, I snap his hand off, right? And then I try to go here, and I thought this is my last chance, and I go, and I didn't get my foot there, right? Like I did with Peter, and didn't get the throw. That's what it should have looked like. Okay, that's what I was trying to do. And I knew that was pretty much my last real effort. And again, I know that I tried to do it before and it didn't work, but, you can't really just when you're out there, you have to do what works for you in practice. And that always works for me. So I was kind of dumbfounded. So he tries big time to throw me here. And I thought, nope, there's only a few seconds left. I'm not going to go. Right. So I decide I'm not going to get thrown. And then at this point, I'm like, well, snap behind, go behind. And there's no time for a choke or anything. He's holding onto my hand so I can't clock choke him. And then that's the end of the match. I felt a lot better about my performance in this one. But still, it's not easy. It's easy to say all the things that you need to improve upon, after the fact. But again, I have a tremendous respect for him. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from him. I learned where the holes are in my game, and I've tried to improve them since. And, like when I was sparring against Peter, that was after this. And so I think my Kata-Guruma has gotten better since then. It's because of this guy that I ended up working on it and getting better at it. So we'll see how that goes in the future. And then that's what I really want you guys to understand from this is that, it's better that I know, right, in reality, in a situation, in a competition, that I need help. And this guy helped me to do that. So respect to him, and thanks everybody for watching the channel. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching.